What's up, you beautiful bastards? Welcome back to not the Philip Defranco show, the Grady Smith show, I suppose. I'm going to copy Philip Defranco one more time.
What's up, you beautiful bastards?
And I know I got to get my own little intro for these news roundups, but hey, I appeared on his channel Rogue Rocket talking about country music recently. I'll link that video in the description down below, but I feel like that earned me like the credit chips to be able to copy him in my intro one more time. There's a bunch of news that's happened over the past month, and I love the idea of periodically just checking in with some of the news happening in country music, do some kind of quick takes. I've talked about some of these stories on my Patreon, so if you want to hear a more in-depth version of some of the things I mention here, you can subscribe over there. But let's just jump into it. First story I want to talk about today is Rascal Flatts announcing their retirement.
It is called the Farewell Tour. Yeah.
You're hurting people, Gary.
The band, which is made up of Gary Laveau, Jay DeMarcus, and Joe Don Rooney, appeared on CBS This Morning last week to announce that after their upcoming tour, which will launch in June 2020, they're going to be taking a very long break, if not breaking up altogether, to allow them some room to pursue individual projects, but they did leave the door open to come back together every once in a while. Rascal Flatts was really in their prime from about 2000 to 2010. They had huge hits like Praying for Daylight and These Days and God Bless the Broken Road, and even their cover of Life is a Highway. They were known for their great harmonies and Gary Laveau's especially high, excellent tenor voice.
You're hurting people, Gary.
But they were also kind of lampooned for the sort of pop production around them, the super amounts of hair gel, and the kind of glitz of their fashion. And over the past decade, Rascal Flatts has still been a pretty huge force in the industry, but they've definitely been seeing diminishing returns, with the performance of singles like Rewind and Banjo just not really making the cultural impact that their former work had. If you've seen any of the televised performances that the band has turned in over the last few years, I wouldn't say that they seem especially inspired. It seems a little bit like they're just kind of going through the motions, and so I think it's understandable that they're making this announcement that they're ready to kind of get off the ride, at least for now. In other news, we had the announcement that after 11 years of hosting the CMA Awards, Carrie Underwood would not be returning as host for this year's broadcast. As I'm sure you know, Carrie Underwood and Brad Paisley co-hosted the CMA Awards for a full decade together, and they were a great comedic duo. She was usually kind of the straight man, second banana to Brad Paisley's kind of wackier, weirder character.
Hey, Brad, do you think that these dolls are
anatomically correct?
Yes.
Only one way to find out. Give me faith.
But this past year, Brad Paisley was not asked back for the hosting job, and instead they brought in Dolly Parton and Reba to host alongside Carrie. Perhaps the experience of hosting with those two was not as pleasant of an experience as hosting with Brad, or perhaps Carrie is sticking up for Brad and feels like he shouldn't have been let go of a job he's great at, or perhaps she is just kind of done putting in the work of hosting this awards show. For whatever reason, she's not going to be returning. The decision to walk away now is an interesting one because Carrie Underwood at the last CMA Awards was really the crowd favorite to win Entertainer of the Year for the first time, especially in a year where the CMAs had very outspokenly said they wanted to celebrate women. But Carrie Underwood didn't win that award, neither did the main person people thought might win it instead, Eric Church. Instead, Garth Brooks won it. And perhaps Carrie is feeling like, what am I doing all this extra stuff for? I mean, I sing the Sunday Night Football song, I host this award show every year, I sell more copies of my albums than almost anyone, and she's always such a good sport for the industry, but it's clear, it's not clear, I suspect, I should say, that Carrie Underwood might want to change the perception around her and pivot away from being just this super affable hostess type that came from a reality show and be taken a little more seriously in the industry. And my evidence for that would be this interview that American Songwriter ran with her just after the announcement. In it, Carrie Underwood talks about how surprised she was to find that so many people don't take her seriously as a force for songwriting and production in the studio, and she talks about how she is growing and evolving as a performer and as a songwriter. It's a pretty interesting read. It makes me excited to hear what's coming from her next. Maybe I'm putting all this together in a conspiratorial way that has nothing to do with anything. Maybe it was just about money, or maybe she was just tired of it, but I think it's all interesting how it has come together, and I figured I'd share the news here with you. And the CMAs had better figure out who they're going to get to host this award show, because Brad and Carrie had the perfect amount of roast, right alongside their affection for the industry. They had an awesome chemistry, and they made the evening flow perfectly. So good luck to whoever has to cast those new hosts. And then we have a story about female country artists, country radio, and CMT. It takes a little bit of explaining, but go with me here. First, there was a feature on Full Frontal with Samantha Bee that was about sexism in country music that sort of jump-started this issue a few weeks ago. And then, about a week ago, a writer that I follow, he's a great writer named Chris Willman, posted this tweet. I turned on the 105.1 country station in LA just now, and they were playing a new song by Gabby Barrett, and then without any pause or interruption at all, they went into a Kelsea Ballerini song. Can't they get fined for that? It's no secret that women have gotten the short end of the stick at country radio for a long time now, and Chris Willman, I think, was just playfully poking fun at that idea and complimenting the station. But a different radio station decided to respond to him in seriousness. 98 KCQ said, "We cannot play two females back to back, not even Lady Antebellum or Little Big Town against another female. I applaud their courage." That tweet was pretty quickly deleted, but it unleashed a firestorm that brought back the conversations of Tomatogate that we've been having for the past 5 years. Casey Musgrave said, "That smells like white male BS, and why long ago I decided they cannot stop me." Kelsea Ballerini weighed in as well and said, "To all the ladies that bust their asses to have half the opportunities that men do, I'm really sorry that in 2020, after years of conversation of equal play, there are still some companies that make their stations play by these rules. It's unfair and it's incredibly disappointing." To be clear, I think any rules that say you can't play songs by women back to back are clearly, plainly wrong and unfair. And if you're going to be the type of person that says you need to play songs based on their merit and we just support good music, whether it's by a man or a woman, you can't also be the kind of person that says it's okay not to play, two songs by women back to back at the same time. Those things can't be congruent philosophies. And yet this is always such a sensitive topic online because I think a lot of times people in the radio industry, especially DJs, feel super accused by fans of not playing enough women, and yet they don't really have a say in the matter. Often it's programming consultants and big corporations that are dictating what is on playlists. And so all the usual hubbub was happening around the story until CMT, Country Music Television, tweeted out that they were going to pledge to play 50% music videos by men and 50% music videos by women moving forward. The channel tweeted, "Effective immediately, all music video hours on CMT and CMT music channels will have complete parity between male and female artists. That means 50-50, hashtag CMT equal play." This is a pretty interesting move by CMT. The first thing I'd say about it is that I think its significance is more symbolic than it really is practically going to move the needle for a lot of people, because CMT really only plays music videos from like 4 a.m. to about 9 a.m. Otherwise, it's like reruns of Home Improvement and Roseanne and Reba and some of their own original programming. And as they said in their own press release, they were already at 40-60 gender parity in terms of what they were playing before. So I don't think it's going to make some big practical change, but certainly it is an outward gesture that is meant to make radio rise to the occasion in a way and start playing more women. I have mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, I think the intention of this move is great. Women over the last 20 years have made some of the best music, and people that can't hear that, Brandy Clark and Ashley McBryde and Casey Musgraves and Ashley Monroe have been putting out excellent quality stuff, they're missing out. And I think CMT executive Leslie Fram, who really spearheaded this movement, is an all-around awesome person that wants good music to get out there. I've actually co-hosted an event about Next Women in Country with Leslie Fram back in 2013, and then I've written about this all throughout my career. I asked Luke Bryan about women on radio in 2013. I did a column for The Guardian in 2014, and in 2015 when the whole Tomatogate thing was happening. I've talked about it here on the channel many times, and I think true good music fans can hear the quality of what so many of the women in Nashville are putting out. All that said, I just fundamentally don't agree with the philosophy of quotas as a technique for solving problems, whether that's in admissions or hiring or, I guess, in music airplay. I think quotas are often put into place to fight discrimination, but ironically, I think they only work by discriminating. And so I think while they might yield a short-term result that is beneficial or that looks good, in the long run, I think they create the same type of resentments that made people frustrated in the first place. And so I don't necessarily think that the right answer would just be for radio to follow suit and just play men and women at 50-50%. But CMT is a private organization that is absolutely allowed to do what they want. If there's anyone in the story that really has it right, I would say it's Casey Musgraves, who said, look, if radio isn't going to be on my side, I'm not going to play that game, peace out, and has then found other ways to get her music out to the public and has reaped the benefits of that. But those are just my rough, somewhat contradictory opinions on the subject. I'd love to know what you think, and if you think CMT's decision will really affect change at radio. In other news, Dierks Bentley's 90s cover band, the Hot Country Knights, have officially signed a record deal and released a single that's going to be promoted to radio. If you've seen Dierks Bentley live, you might know that he sometimes plays with this band, the Hot Country Knights, that describe themselves as something like the 4th best cover band in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The idea of this band is to bring back the humor and the sound of 90s country, especially now that we're 30 years on from it. And so this is a little side project that he has now gotten a record deal for. They're clearly going for a humorous vibe, and now they put out a song called Pick Her Up, which features Travis Tritt and is a really good time.
You might even make her fall in love. Pick her up in a pickup truck.
There's a lot of backstory and characters, and each of the guys is kind of playing a part, and Dierks Bentley is producing this album. You can go read about it. There's some interviews out there. They also have their own YouTube channel with humorous videos that I recommend checking out. In other record deal news, Chrissie Metz, who you might know from the show This Is Us or films like Breakthrough, has signed a record deal with Universal and is going to be releasing a debut country album. Chrissie Metz has kind of been flirting around the country scene for a couple years now. She's sung on a few award shows. She did a version of Even Though I'm Leaving that I did not take to very kindly a few months ago.
'Cause I'm leaving, it don't mean that I won't be right by your side.
But I wonder if she is going to be a low-key sales monster just because she has that really loyal audience that loves to tune into This Is Us and cry. I could see her playing in the kind of like quasi-Christian contemporary space and having an album that everyone wants to buy for their mom around Christmas time. Or hey, maybe she'll make some real honky-tonker, but I doubt it. Anyway, I'm interested to see what type of music she puts out and if Universal is doing something really, really smart and yeah, a little bit cunning here. And our final piece of news is a simple one. It's just that Luke Combs has been announced as an upcoming musical guest on Saturday Night Live. He'll be on the show along with JJ Watt, who will be hosting that night. And it's cool to see Luke get on SNL. The country artists that get invited on to Saturday Night Live are definitely more in the Americana or kind of indie critics' favorite type artists, people like Margot Price, but it's not as normal for SNL to invite a big mainstream country star like Luke Combs onto the stage, but at some point you become so ubiquitously successful that even SNL has to let you on. So that's it, guys. That's all the news I'm going to cover in today's video. I'd love to know any of your thoughts in the comments down below. Go ahead and give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon with a lot more stuff.